Hey, this is the Chaffin Church podcast. Thanks so much for joining us today. We are here at the Holden Tree Lighting, and it's such a fantastic event. Santa just came a few minutes ago. The Girl Scouts are the Girl Scouts are singing carols. There's some coffee being served. There's things you can buy, crafts and stuff from Bria Coffee and from Sweets and Java. Hundreds and hundreds of people are here. Hundreds and hundreds of people are driving by. The town is really just getting in the Christmas spirit. And so today, Ryan and I are going to talk about what that means a little bit, what it means to be jolly or not. Of course, as you know, I am much more festive than Ryan. Honestly, I think he has an issue. Not sure what that is. But since he's not here right now, unless he's in the other side of this camera, he'll never know what I'm saying. Anyways, he is here. and he's part of this podcast. It's going to be a great podcast focusing on what is the Advent season and how should we kind of walk through it as Christians. So, the Chaffin Church podcast. Check out some of these sights and sounds and interviews, and Ryan and I will be right back. Hey, what's going on? This is the Chaffin Church podcast. My name is Marty Holman. I'm here with Pastor Shiloh Bradshaw.
Hey,
who is all the way from right here. Like, you live right there.
Yeah, it was quite a commute to get over here.
We're at the Holden Town. What is this called?
The Christmas tree lighting.
Holden Town Christmas Tree Lighting. This tree right here is going to be lit up, and it's going to be fantastic. And so, thanks for having a few words with me.
Yeah.
What does Christmas mean to you?
What does Christmas mean to me? Well, thank you for asking. Christmas. Well, I mean, Christmas is ultimately it's when we celebrate the birth of Christ, Jesus, our Savior, our Lord. For me, it's really about the mystery of God becoming human. And so just celebrating the wonderful gift of God's grace in Jesus.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And what about events like this, right? This is a town.
Yeah.
Like, what do these things mean to you? Like, do you like them? Do you not like them?
Yeah, no, I love this stuff, man. I love it.
Is it a pagan apostasy? Like, what is going on here?
I don't think so at all. I mean, hold on, I gotta switch arms here.
I love it.
No, man, I think it's great. I love seeing the community get together. I love the festivity. I love and I don't think it's anti anything or pagan anything. I mean, I understand the historical roots of where, like, some of it comes from, but I don't really see it like that this is celebrating any of that. So I just think it's a great time for the community to get together, celebrate a wonderful season, and for those who know Jesus, for us, there's a deeper meaning underlying all of it. So, and for those that aren't there, this is it just creates a great opportunity for kindness in the family and be together out in the community. So,
and what's your favorite part of this event?
I don't know. Honestly, this is my first time.
Is it?
Yeah,
I thought you were here last time.
No, I have not been able. I've lived here for 4 years, and I have not been able to come. So this is my first time actually being able to be here. So I don't know, because I don't know what's. It hasn't even started yet, so I don't even know what to tell you.
Okay. Well, that's what's going on right now. Thank you. This is your second time on the Chaffin Church podcast?
Yeah, second time on the Chaffin Church podcast, yes. The Chaffin Congregational Church podcast.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. Sorry. You can cut that one out.
All right. Thanks, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
What do you like about Christmas, Xander?
I like Santa Claus coming to town, and I like Daddy.
Oh, like Daddy? Okay, but what about Jesus? You like him?
Yeah.
And are you on the naughty or the nice list?
Nice list.
All right. Hello and welcome to the
You almost said good morning, didn't you?
Chaffin Church
You did.
podcast.
Clearly, this is a pastor here. He almost said good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Chaffin Church podcast.
Does he care you're listening to this at night in your car? He does not. Good morning anyway.
You have just seen Ryan and I's time at the Holden Christmas Tree Lighting or Holiday Tree Lighting, however they refer to it now. And we got to hang out there. I had a great time. You had a party that you had to go to shortly after.
I did. And it was a good one.
Did you dance at the party?
There was no dancing at this particular party, but
Super
it
sad.
was a good party nonetheless.
All right. Well, we have a lot of fun things to talk about today. But before we get into the fun things, let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. And hey, if you haven't subscribed to the Chaffin Church podcast, please do so on Anchor or Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can also subscribe on the YouTube channel, which is a great way to subscribe and check it out. And please share our work because it is good. By the way, I heard a guy from the Worcester Telegram and Gazette and I talked this week, and he told me that they're doing a then and now special for this is the first time I'm telling you this, special for the Chaffin Church, and showing an old picture in the 1940s and showing a more recent picture.
Oh, I've seen that column before.
Yeah. And so he told me that he would check out, and then later on he told me he did check out, and he really liked the information that we gave on the history episodes 8 through 12 on the history of Chaffin Church. So if you haven't seen those, go back, check those out. But Worcester Telegram is doing a special also on Chaffin Church.
Very nice.
So we hope you enjoyed the footage that you got of the tree. What is something that you think about when you think about your limited time there at the Holden annual Christmas tree lighting?
I think honestly, just the vibe there was like, it just felt like everyone was excited to be there. Like it was sort of like, oh my goodness, it's winter, and I get to be in this crowd, because it hasn't really been a thing lately, So
right.
So it almost seemed like people were happy, but in like a very like, I'm sort of shocked I get to do this kind of way.
Yeah.
So.
And last year it got canceled. 2 years ago was the first time that I had participated. And some of the things I'm going to say, I have to remember that I haven't said it before. I haven't said it before to you. And I didn't know that this existed. Apparently this has gone on for several years. And my daughter is in the Girl Scouts, Scarlett, and she happened to be invited to sing with the Girl Scouts carols. So I was like, oh, this sounds like a fun event. So we went 2 years ago. Great event, outstanding. Probably the second best Christmas gathering in Holden. Right outside of the Jingle Jam.
Right outside of
Happening on
the
December 19th.
You left me wondering what the number one was, and then you said that. And then you said that.
I'm surprised you didn't know, Ryan. So anyways, you and I think about Christmas differently, or we celebrate differently. I love eggnog, and you love December 26th.
Can I tell everyone about the meme I sent you?
Yes, please do.
So I've sent Marty this meme before. I'm not sure if you remember this, but I've sent you this meme many years.
Yes.
Because every time I see it, it cracks me up because it is me and you. Like
yes.
it so just vividly illustrates the way Marty and I are. So there is this meme. If you've ever seen Lord of the Rings, there is this battle called the Battle of Helms Deep, and it's probably like the largest fight scene in the whole three movie series, which is saying a lot because there are a lot of big battles in that set of movies. And there's a guy named Theoden in it, and he's like a king, and he's just known as having this very dour, kind of serious face before the battle, and he gives this big epic speech, and then he sees the army, this evil army coming at him, and he just has this very like serious face on, and it's the face that someone has before they know many of the people he's commanding will die. And so, very serious face. And then right next to that, King Theoden, they put Buddy the Elf, and he's just looking like totally just excited about life. And I think it's the exact freeze frame of the moment where someone says, "Hey, Santa's coming to town," and he's like, "Oh, Santa, I know him." You know, that they take a screen grab from right there. And at the bottom of the meme, it says, you know, there are two types of people when Christmas comes around, you know. And then so on the elf side of things, they say, "Oh, Santa, I know him, I know him." And then on the other side, they say, "So it begins." ... So, and so I am the King Theoden in this story. And funny enough, because I actually have told Marty several times, he is the pastor version of Buddy the Elf, because he's so enthusiastic and he loves Christmas. And so...
And I'm doing it this year without drinking soda.
Oh!
So it's all natural.
Well, we don't want to get too sidetracked, but is that a health decision, or...
I had a friend who was having a hard time with a nasty habit that he was a part of. It was smoking cigarettes.
Oh.
And I told my friend, "You don't pick up a cigarette," and he wanted this. "You don't pick up a cigarette, I'm not picking up a soda."
Okay, now let me ask you this: is this all carbonated beverages, including your occasional sugar-free Monster, or is this just the sugary kind?
I would consider anything north of Polar Seltzer. So Polar Seltzer I could have, in my opinion. I don't consider that soda. However, I would consider energy drinks. And by energy drinks, I mean the carbonated ones, I think. I would consider that to be
over the line. Okay, well then I needed to know, because I am going to be holding you accountable, sir.
Thank you, and I need that. Although, honestly, I haven't even gone near a soda. I haven't wanted one. I haven't desired to grab one, go and buy McDonald's for $1.
Ooh.
My dealer. My soda dealer, $1.06 for a large drum of soda. Are you kidding me?
You know, I'm gonna have to, you know, get my brass knuckles out of storage, and we'll be ready for the time that you and your dealer connect on that. So that's good. Well, that's a big part of your Christmas season. I know you enjoy the soda.
Yeah, I enjoy it a lot, and I enjoy not drinking it too.
Well, and we associate Coca-Cola in particular with. You know, Santa Claus, and then they had the polar bear that had the red scarf or whatever for many years.
They do such a good job.
Do they still do that? I don't know if they still do that.
I think a couple years ago they put it back.
And then they had like Christmas cans and everything. So I know that is a great sacrifice for you, Marty.
Yes, but it's good. It's worth it, and I'm feeling good. However, I jumped on the scale 3 days ago, and I'm eating well too, and I gained 3 pounds. So there. But
isn't that part of the Christmas season?
I guess. I
mean, just the goodness and the good times have to be balanced by a little bit of panic over weight gain, right?
That's true. I guess. I wish I was eating something to do that. Is the problem? You know what I mean? If I'm going to gain weight. I might as well eat something good. You know what I mean?
You know what? The person that I listened to most that helped me lose 50 pounds earlier this year had this rule that I think you would find very, very cool. Don't drink your calories.
Really?
Eat your calories. Do not drink your calories.
Interesting.
So look on the back of every drink you have. So this includes like orange juice has a lot of calories, right?
Right.
get rid of it, you know? Now, like something like almond milk, 30 calories per serving.
Right.
That's
actually
fine, you know? But regular cow's milk, you know, it's like 130,
Right,
you know?
right.
Very different.
Interesting.
Don't drink
Great
your calories. Keep that in mind this holiday season, folks. Eggnog. Oh my goodness, eggnog.
You be quiet and stop talking. Eggnog doesn't have
Holy
bubbles.
eggnog.
Pep,
Batman.
listen,
Wow.
I'm going to Chick-fil-A tonight, and I want you to know that I'm going to only have a peppermint chocolate chip shake.
Wow, that is
That's
not
probably
low
not
calorie.
true, by the way.
There you go. Sorry, that was a rabbit trail.
It's a fun rabbit trail. Please be good in regards to calories and health, and think about that. I don't often think about that. You know, here's why I did it. And once again, we're getting out, but maybe there's a reason. 2 weeks ago, I was in a nursing home. And also, my grandparents, who are very healthy, are in nursing homes together. So I have this in my mind a lot, pretty often. And I began thinking, and I'm sure I've heard this or saw it somewhere, but there are the things you're doing now are going to lead to who you're going to be 20 years from now.
Right.
Well, a lot of those people in those nursing homes are only a few years older than I will be 20 years from now. So, you know, I want to be healthy. I want to be, you know, and so, you know, in a lot of different areas, but also in food and health. So
That's smart. That's smart.
yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, so anyways, we've been talking about the Christmas series, and you know, you and I have been talking a lot about Christmas.
And the tree lighting.
The tree lighting. There's no room at church. We're talking about there's no room for outsiders. We've talked about there's no room for youth. There's no room for anyone. There was no room for Jesus at the inn. And so this is a common story. And you and I have done years and years worth of series at church, right? Mm-hmm. And we've celebrated in different ways. What is it that you don't like about the way the American church celebrates Christmas?
That's a good question. I think in regards to the church, well, I mean, I want to give the church a little bit of grace here, right? Because we have to tell the same story every year.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It is the same story, and maybe we highlight different parts of it. But you know, pastors, by and large, have to tell the same story year after year. With that being said, right? It's sort of one of these. Francis Chan had this thing about. Now he said this about Easter, but I feel the same way about Christmas.
Okay.
You know, and he says about Easter. You know, like a story about, you know, a guy literally being raised from the dead. Like, and you have people leaving your church because they're saying it's, you know, this is boring. Okay. You made that story boring. It is not a boring story, you know? And I feel the same way about the Christmas story. So you have, you know, Jesus and his parents, you know, the Son of God coming into the world, you know, the incarnation, you know, God and man together in the flesh. Mm-hmm. And then there's this whole story that happened shortly after it of attempted murder and just running over, you know, cross-border immigration and people being in a land that they don't speak the language, and there's all sorts of stuff in there, so all sorts of good nuggets there. But yeah, so that's sort of the content of it, right? And I don't want to focus too much on that. I do think we need to find a way to make that story cool, and I don't know. Sometimes the way we tell the little kid version, because we have little kids in church with us. I don't know. So maybe there's something there, right? But with all that being said, I think my biggest issue is I'm going to call it this sort of like emotional regulation that is sort of expected by us. And usually when someone says, regulate your emotions, they mean like take it down a notch, calm down. But on Christmas, it's the opposite, right? People are like, oh no, you need to get into the spirit of the Christmas spirit, right?
Interesting.
And you have to lift yourself up, and I think just a lot of people don't have anything to lift themselves up by, like maybe there's something in their past, past experiences on Christmases, or even something as simple as maybe they're single and they don't want to be, or maybe they are not single and they want to be, like
That's a thing.
That is a thing. That is a thing. So I think for me, I am very much in the crowd of, I had a good childhood, so I'm not disparaging my parents here, but there came a certain age where Christmas stopped being magical and it started to be this just really stressful event,
Yeah.
Like we would still be hosting Christmases and things, but I don't know, and maybe I just didn't notice because I was a kid, but it just seemed like my parents were really getting really stressed out, and they started to put more and more of that stress onto us as kids, and it just wasn't like a good time, and this was also the time where, I started being interested in dating and everything, and I'm getting up there in age, and I have never been dating somebody at Christmas time.
Is that true?
That is true. That is true.
You have never been dating somebody at
I've
Christmas
never been
time.
dating someone at Christmas time, and so, last Christmas, that whole song doesn't make any sense to me because I've never been with someone on Christmas, and so.
I don't know that I could be more shocked right now.
I mean, do I seem like a player to you or something? Like, why?
First of all,
is
you're
that?
from New England, so it's playa.
Playa, okay.
No, I mean, no. I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, but it just seems like every Christmas, around this time, I'm 32, and so I don't know, just and it doesn't even have to necessarily be Christmas, but this also happens on New Year's where I just realize I'm like, oh, like I'm in my 30s and I'm not with someone, like, it's sort of like this moment of like minor panic, but more just like, ugh, I'm alone again on Christmas, and it's just like everyone
And a week
seems
later.
to have someone to be with, and so, and
Which is not true. Like, that everyone has someone to be
well, not
with.
everyone, but it seems like something a lot of people, at least people that are with people, seem to be enjoying those relationships in general around those times.
50% of all marriages end in divorce. So
Right,
I want to be real with you and say,
Right now, and it's not totally logical, right? We're talking about feelings here, so they're not entirely reliable. But
Okay, all right.
but there is sort of then there's this other crowd of people, many of whom are with people or have kids or just inexplicably happier people in general than I am, who come in and say like, oh, get in the Christmas spirit. It's like, no, like I'm not.
I think
no.
he's talking about me.
No, it's not you. Like it's because you understand. Like you,
Yes,
you're
I have-
understanding.
I have sympathy towards that.
Like, and sometimes you're like, yeah, why are you? Like you ask questions, but it's
Yeah.
You're certainly not ever telling me like, no, you need to feel this way.
Correct.
So,
That'd be ridiculous.
so clearly, I'm not saying, well, because there are unhappy people, the people that are happy have to become not happy, because that's clearly that's not what I'm saying. But there is sort of like in the church and in American culture, there is this idea that getting in the Christmas spirit involves this journey of being unhappy or kind of like curmudgeon-y or, you know, being Scrooge, you know, and then, or the Grinch or whatever, and then you have to come out on the other side of that and sort of be happy. So, and that is the American Christmas story. Like every American Christmas movie, it's the same arc, right? Like maybe with the exception of Die Hard, you know, you're kicking Hans Gruber off the top of Nakatomi Plaza, and he's probably not very happy about that. But but you know, other than that, I don't know. I can't really think of very many Christmas movies that don't have that same arc, which is interesting to me because let's talk about the Bible. I'll let you go into this part a little bit.
Which part?
The Bible story.
You want me to tell the Bible story?
Yeah. Why don't you just give us just a brief overview?
Okay.
Can you just do like 1-2 minute version?
Yeah. I mean, so you have the idea that, you know, Rome had taken over much of the world. The Roman Empire had taken over Alexander the Great and his empire, took over Greece, and what you had is a space and time called Pax Romana, or the Peace of Rome, and so there was not much war. It was kind of a nice time to be alive in the ancient world.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have a couple named Joseph and Mary who are pregnant, and they are pregnant apparently without having consummated their marriage.
Which at first Joseph doesn't believe.
Right, because he is completely normal. right? Like he
and let's be honest, no one else is believing that.
No, we're not. Right? Even if an angel tells me, like, yeah, I probably had one too many beers. Like something like
Right.
I don't know
So
that
unless
you're really
God
there.
himself shows up in a burning bush.
Right. Like,
but that's almost what happened, you know. So.
Right. So anyways, they travel to Bethlehem for a census for Caesar Augustus, and there they cannot find room in the inn. Now at the same time, God goes to the shepherds, or the angels go to a group of shepherds, and they basically relay to these shepherds through the star and through song and through worship that the Son of David is born in the city of Bethlehem, and basically tell them the prophecies are being fulfilled. Here it is.
And this was in a barn, right?
And it was fulfilled in a barn because there was no room in the inn. And that is where Mary had Jesus. And it's a beautiful story. It's a very intense story. If you really think about having a baby in a barn, if you think about the many difficulties that birth has in general, and on top of that, you have these, you have just cows and goats and things around, and shepherds come in, and it's just pretty incredible.
Right, and then the follow-up to that story is an angel comes to them and says, hey, you know that King Herod guy who's, I would call him sort of like a provincial ruler who Rome allowed to keep his kingship, right? And he had this just messed up idea that he could prevent Jesus from becoming king by killing all of the babies from whatever province, you know, Bethlehem was, or not Bethlehem, but all the babies from Nazareth, rather, right? And this wasn't very many babies, by the way. I didn't know this detail until recently. This was like 5 or 6 babies.
Okay.
So,
so Nazareth was a small town.
Right. So it was a small town. You know, people think like, oh my goodness, they're killing all the babies from this entire province. It must be like hundreds of thousands of babies or something. No.
I actually don't know if I agree with that. Now, I don't think it's thousands, but...
Well, Nazareth at the time had a population of less than 100. So
oh, really?
All the babies being born. Yeah, Nazareth was a tiny town.
So, in other words, the army must not have been very big either, because how do you not find 5 or 6 babies and kill them?
Well, presumably they found the other babies whose parents were
Correct.
not warned, and so the only way they avoided that
Was to jet
horrible
out.
situation was to get out of there.
Yeah.
And so, so now when I say 5 or 6 babies, I'm not saying that's still not messed up.
Right.
But this is not like a wholesale genocidal slaughter or
Right.
something. But anyways, so super messed up sort of ending to the story. They have to go to Egypt until Herod dies, which I'm assuming takes some time, maybe even years. So
Yeah.
there's this refugee immigrant story where they all look and speak differently. They don't speak the same language
Right.
as the locals, and so I'm assuming that was very difficult.
A very similar story to his great grandmother Ruth, who
Yes.
went during a famine to Moab.
There you go. Very, very similar story, and very similar story to many immigrants who come here to the United States to
Yeah.
flee persecution.
Yeah.
So, and we don't hear basically anything about their time in Egypt or the journey there.
Correct.
I don't remember what movie it is, but whatever movie it is, Jesus gets lost or runs away from his parents on the way there. What movie was that? I don't know. It's some Christmas movie, I think.
Yeah, I think I don't remember which one, but
Yeah. Anyways, so all that to say, the Christmas story is like really like messy and like I can't imagine that those years, but especially that night of Jesus' parents' life was very fun. You're out in this barn in a very unsanitary place, giving birth. And I don't know, I feel like in the American church, we sort of like, now when I say the term whitewash, I don't mean like any racial connotations, but we whitewash this story in that we sort of just like clean it up. And I think in an unacceptable way. So this kind of reminds me of the John Mark McMillan song, How He Loves. And so what many Christians have done, there's this line in the song, heaven meets earth like a sloppy wet kiss, is the original line that John Mark McMillan said. And he's highlighting just this sort of like intense, like messy love, that so much love is there, and it's just like a sloppy wet kiss, right? Very intense. And so what a lot of Christians have done is change this line to an unforeseen kiss,
Right.
because it made a lot of, I guess, old school Christians uncomfortable hearing this, that language in church is unacceptable, whatever, right? And so they've changed the line, which I just hate that. I think we should keep the original one. Similar thing to what's happening here with the Christmas story. It's just, we have little kids play the roles, and there's no focus on how hard this birth is. There's no focus on how messed up that Herod wants to kill all these babies afterwards, or the fact that they have to go and live in a different country for presumably several years. And it reminds me of, just real quick, this I once heard this preacher talk about Noah and the ark, and he brought in this book, and there's this picture of Noah and these little animals on the ark, and they're all smiling on the ark. And I was thinking and he said, I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, like we should have like a dead body float by or something, because kids need to know that this was a serious event. Like we can't just focus on the smiling and the whitewash versions of things.
So I really like that. I will push back a little bit to say that probably Xander, for instance, my 4-year-old,
Right.
doesn't need to know the ins and outs, right?
I'm not saying little kids need to be exposed to like the full depth of what's going on. I'm just talking about our little Christmas plays, and we make it into a cute story, and then we expect people's emotions to match just that. and not the
hard
full
portion.
depth of the adult version of that story.
Yeah,
right?
as a matter of fact, where I would completely agree with you is I don't think we teach teenagers the hard part of these things, right? In
Right.
these stories. So we're trying to get these ideals, right, of peace and love
Right.
and joy. However, peace and love and joy don't necessarily come with perfect circumstances,
Right.
right? I mean, you said it earlier when you talked about your family gatherings, right? What is more dysfunctional than a family gathering trying to be perfect?
Right.
It's just not there. Like, literally, like we are sitting in a very comfortable, very perfect room. Like, not perfect, but you know what I mean, like a beautiful room.
Right.
And I don't care, literally, I don't care what anybody thinks if they don't like this room. Like, this is a beautiful room.
There's a little bit of bias on both of our parts there, to be fair.
I mean, it's a beautiful room.
It really is. It really is.
But when a church tries, and this is where I think you're exactly right, when a church tries as an adults, and it's even say as teenagers, to look and act perfect, they are basically doing what dysfunctional families are doing. Giving off the aura that things are perfect, when really things have got shot to hell. I mean, they're horrible.
Right, and teenagers especially, that this is the age where, kids, start teenagers and tweens start to see this. They start to understand how imperfect things actually are, and they're like, why do we have to be so fake?
Yeah.
And it's this very there's this disillusionment that happens, and some adults are unwilling even when their children who are teenagers bring that up, are unwilling to deal with it. And this was well, hopefully my parents never listen to this, but this was the case in my home growing up, where I would essentially be trying to call my parents out on just like, why is there a smile plastered on your face right now? You were having a rough time when you got in the car, and you're at this party. I know you're not happy. You don't have to pretend, and it's very and so when people are doing that and then they expect me to do that, it's like, okay, now you're expecting me to just mask my real emotions, and like that's the boundary.
Yeah.
That I will not do. And I'm not gonna, and on the flip side, I'm also not going to expect everyone to mope or to Eeyore the Christmas experience or whatever, but
Thanks.
Well, there you go.
Now, let me ask you this, because could it be, and I just had this thought when you were talking earlier, could it be not that we celebrate too much, but that we actually celebrate too little sometimes? To give you an example, Carrie and I, after, like right in between jobs, when I was in between working in a different church and when I came to here, we went to Spain. And they literally find a reason to party every stinking day. Like, and I went during a time of like a month-long festival, but that month-long festival was at a different place. It was at a place called Valencia. So then, a couple months later, we went back chaperoning for another, for high school students that Carrie worked with. And when we did that, we went to 3 different cities, and almost every day we went to a city, we saw some type of celebration through the city. It's like these people were just celebrated all of the time. And it wasn't, they weren't all super happy celebrations, but I will tell you what, they were all together in the midst of them. Some of them were quieter than others. Some of them had fireworks. They were just always celebrating. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a place I should go.
No, I think that's true. I tend to view it more as like we have to give celebration its context, right? And so something that we've talked about on the podcast before and I preached about last year is lament,
Yeah.
right? Like you really can't have proper celebration unless you also have lament at times,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's definitely one of the truths I think that is contained, in the scriptures for sure.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I was on Facebook a little yesterday, but not once did I hear that it was Pearl Harbor Day. I knew it was Pearl Harbor Day. Did you hear anything about Pearl Harbor Day yesterday?
I did not, but I'm not on social media. So.
But still, you still didn't, and you were not, right. It was nowhere to be found. To your point, as Americans, we didn't talk about this day where we lament that a group of people were killed, were ambushed.
Right. A day that will live in infamy, right? Yeah. So, I mean, we know, and we keep coming back to this topic because Americans are just so bad at it. Like we and if you have kids, maybe you want to mute for the next 5 seconds, but Americans suck at this. Like just we are horrible at recognizing hardship and even what to do about it. And the only time in our culture that we promote lament is when someone dies. That's the only think about it. There are no other circumstances that we celebrate lament. Maybe after a breakup, it's socially acceptable to watch chick flicks and eat out of the tub of ice cream. But like that's it, right?
And I know we don't have a lot of time. We're actually going to close, but we also have churches who talk regularly about it's not okay to be okay, who then give a huge impression, or no, it's okay to be okay.
It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to not be okay. Who then give the impression from stage that you better be okay because everything's perfect up here.
Right. Like every message resolves in some happiness. Every worship song played is about victory. There are no songs of lament played in American churches. It's true.
Interesting.
So,
something to think about, my friends.
So for Christmas, let me just say this.
Give us a good lament for Christmas.
Just a wrap up. I think people need to feel what they're going to feel when they hear and experience the real Christmas story. And whether it's the Christmas story in the scriptures or you have your own Christmas story from the past, right? That is going to reflect the way that you feel during the holidays. And so, in Marty and I, you have some examples of what I think are two healthy, relatively at least healthy ways to just act and feel on Christmas, Like it's okay to be super excited about Christmas and to jump up and down and drink eggnog as much as you want and all of that stuff, right? But it's also okay if you just want to have a low-key, night at home and you're just not feeling it. Like that's okay. That's fine. The Christmas spirit, that whole thing. By the way, nowhere in the scriptures does it say Christmas spirit anywhere. So let's not conflate that with Christian values. But so that's what I have to say.
I mean, most of how we celebrate Christmas comes from Victorian England and Charles Dickens, and that is a truth. Hey, I dig it. Along with my Christmas village.
Very nice. Very nice.
Hey, some quick announcements. We didn't get these last week because we didn't have our podcast last week. But so I said some birthdays. Pastor Pacific Zagabe, his birthday was last week. Christine Quirk, happy birthday to you. Al Van Wert, happy birthday to you. And Mr. Dave Ellis turned 80 years old a few Sundays ago. We're thankful for him. Dave, you're awesome. This week, Dan DeMice. He's who is a part of Chaffin Church. He turns another year older as well. Some announcements. Food and Coat Drive happening on December. Already happened. The Food and Coat Drive already happened. So never mind about that. December 19th, the Jingle Jam. Get your friends here. Get your kids here. so we can do a little nativity story. It'll be cute and wonderful. Play some games. It's what we call a shared worship experience. You'll dig it. And then December 24th is our Christmas Eve candlelight service. We're not going to have church. We're not going to have church on December 26th. Should we have our podcast that day?
Sure.
We're
I think
gonna
we
call
can
it.
pre-record something.
We're
yeah.
still going to have our podcast. All right. Why don't you finish us out?
Oh, with the giving. Yes. So we can't do what we do without the generosity of people that regularly give to Chaffin Church. And one of those things includes this podcast. There's equipment here. There's other things we need. And so if you have learned something from this podcast, or if you have enjoyed just the sparkling personalities that Marty and I have, please would you be willing to give something to Chaffin Church? Those gifts are fully tax deductible, which is kind of cool. And tax season is rapidly approaching. So please get those gifts in. And you can do that I think we have like 4 different ways that you can give. So the first is you can show up here and you can place some money in our, we have a donation box now, which is very exciting for us. We have upgraded from a basket to a box, which if you're not a big churchgoer, you probably don't know that's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. You can also mail your checks if you're super old school, which we still love. You can mail your checks to 155 Shrewsbury Street in Holden. You can go to chaffin.church/giving, and you can give online there. Or my personal favorite way is to give through texting. So if you just text any dollar amount, like if you wanted to give $20, you would just type 20 in the text box and send that text to 84321. You can also give that way from any smartphone. So that's how you can give. Thank you for those of you who do give.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for being here and checking out today's podcast. Remember to go share, subscribe, review, rate. Tell us you love us. And have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. Either lamenting or what's the opposite of lament?
Celebrate. Or do both.
No, because it's health. That's the healthy thing.
Yeah, do both. Please do both.
Lament people who are going through something, or lament circumstances, and lament.
Or lament with them.
With people and celebrate.
Yes.
There's joy in the air. Today is, by the way, the 3rd week of Advent. And joy is the focus.
Marty, can I ask you a question as we close?
Yeah.
Are you going to drink eggnog tonight?
So, probably not. And only because...
That is shocking to me.
So I have a little bit left. I have a stash. And the reason I'm not is because I'm going out with the youth group, 15-5 youth group. We're going to see Christmas tree lights. And so I'll probably be home late.
Okay. So you're getting your fix, okay?
I'm getting...
So that is not as shocking. Okay.
This has been good news.
Now go and give some out.